Everybody has something to say about that.
Theos, he had hold of your soul from a long time back, seems like. You get what you needed from him?
I got an answer to an old question.
Those can be hard to come by, but maybe that's best. Forces you to find your own footing. You'll be feeling better soon then. Good. That's real good. You got it figured out what you're going to do about all that?
Sure.
Got a lot of people out there thinking they've been abandoned by their gods. There's not much that'll put the fear in you more than that. You can take my word for it. If it was in my power, and I know it's not, but if it was, I'd find a way to give them the courage to face it. Not because they think there's some god looking out for them, but because they've just got it in them.
They got it in them.
After what you've been through, though, I'm sure you got your own ideas. Better make it good.
Wink.
So much for Theos, then.
The membranes of Pelagina's golden eyes swoop out and retract as she gazes into the great machine.
Now you have a chance to set things right, back to the proper order of things. It will take the Dyrwood generations to recover, but at least these souls will find their way back to the wheel, as it should be.
Never thought I'd see something like this in my travels. Lends a little perspective, doesn't it? To think, the decisions the Angwithans made thousands of years ago still shape our lives today.
Change.
It would be a shame to deny these souls the chance to find their own way and their own purpose. I guess that's up to you, isn't it? Because I'm too short to reach the controls on that thing. For all I know, when you flip the switch, that thing will blast us all as far as Nasitak. Whatever happens, though, I'm glad we journeyed together. So you did. It's been an honor.
Astounding. I always knew the Ledden Key stood for something big, but I didn't quite realize what I'd gotten myself into. And now, you're in the middle of something even bigger. With a decision that will affect millions.
Yep.
But even if you send the souls somewhere specific now, who knows what the next turn of the wheel will make of them? We can't really control what happens to them. Nor should we try. I had to see the monster Theos had become to realize that. It's your decision, of course. And whatever you decide, I'm glad our paths crossed in Gilded Vale.
Ah, the end of the road greets us at last. You fared well, Watcher. Better than any Watcher has right to. Seems you were a field in need of a flame's cleansing. But with that trial's end, a new one begins. A god's trial. And I will stand in judgment without mercy.
Alright. Touch the spinny dongle. With your companions bearing witness, you step up to the place where Theos once stood before his people long ago. The great machine lies in front of you, eyed already. You've seen this machine and others like it in operation. You understand how it works. It is a device for directing souls. As a watcher, it would be a simple matter to influence that direction. Though as big as the machine is, it might be the last thing you ever do. Speak the command. There's a shrieking of stone grinding against stone. Its old clogs loosen and begin to turn. You have only moments before the souls will be sent into the Eldraine. This will be your only chance at redirecting them. Jeez. Turn the souls to the bodies they are intended for. I think that's what I said I would do. Be kind of creepy to have like soulless bodies around, and then it's like really upsetting for the current like generation to have just like these soulless bodies. Maybe we'll have zombies. just destroy them all. Fuck you guys. Big on moving on, but you close your eyes and expand your perception outward, taking in the immense totality of the tens of thousands of souls orbiting the chamber. Your grasp on the souls is tenuous. You find yourself fighting to keep them all within your influence. You can feel them slipping away from you as the machine gains speed. A brief moment comes when it feels as though you hold all of them at once, and their force is so great. It feels as though they will tear you apart. In that moment, you dedicate your entire being into bending their orbit, channeling their flow in a new direction, and then you explode. Oh. Cancel.
At your command, the ancient device became your instrument, spinning to life with deafening resonance and gathering up the swirling essence like thread on a great spindle. There, in the pale pulsing glow of the machine that set you on this path long ago, you summoned all your strength, focusing on your objective and blocking out all else. With a single concussive blast that rocked the chamber and sent you tumbling to the ground, you freed the souls from their stasis. Exhausted, your consciousness slipping away, your last sight was of the machine, dark and dormant. Then your eyes closed, and sleep welcomed you at long last. After coming to and searching for some time, you discovered the route Theos used to enter Sun and Shadow, and embarked on a long and arduous ascent back to the surface. You emerged in Ter Evron after days of tunneling through the rubble Theos had left behind, and when you stepped into the daylight, you were faced with a different Dyrwood than the one you had left. At your direction, the souls diverted by Theos were guided back to the vessels originally meant for them. For the first time, parents of hollow-born children woke to the cries of their infants, and looked into their eyes to see them staring back. People fell to their knees where they stood, thanking Helia or Mogren, or even Aethys for their forgiveness of whatever guilt they felt they bore. But for all the relief that had come to some parents, others only found new grief. For many thousands of Hollowborn had died during Wide-One's legacy, many by their parents' own hands. For those children, there would be no homecoming. Yet the last Hollow birth was in the past now, and those parents willing to risk trying for a new child were frequently rewarded, often with twins. Many felt they saw Helia's hand in it, and the year would be remembered as the year of Helia's splendor. Though you had killed Lord Radric in his throne room,
Oh dear,
so
we're gonna go through all
strong was
this.
his drive to rid his land of Aethasians that he returned to life as a death guard, a deathless crusader for his brutal cause. With the remains of his humanity stripped away, Radric came to see all the people of Gilded Vale as worshippers of Aethys, and one day he led his forces into the village personally to see them all purged from his lands.
That's hilarious.
Gilded Vale was left a hollow shell, its buildings ruined, and its people slaughtered. Even travelers and would-be squatters knew better than to take refuge inside its borders.
So if you'd like destroyed the souls, that wouldn't
Lord
happen.
Radric returned to Radric's Hold, where he remained, keeping eternal watch over his barren domain. Following the assassinations of Duke Avar Wolfgren and Lady Webb, Defiance Bay was thrown into political upheaval. In the ensuing weeks, the streets had become the domain of looters and blackguards. Few dared to step outside their own doors alone or unarmed. But order was soon re-established by the Knights of the Crucible, who, despite their depleted numbers, had gained favor in the public eye for their role in the unraveling of the conspiracy surrounding Wide-One's legacy, and were quickly reinforced by returning forces from Fleetbreaker Castle. For the Knights, their resurgence marked a return to the tradition as well. Having seen firsthand the dangers presented by dabblers in animancy, the Order quickly abolished the practice internally, preferring the familiarity of their hammers and forges to the uncertainties of Essence and Adra. Their identity rediscovered, The knights suppressed their political aspirations and began once again to train their recruits in the art of blacksmithing, recapturing the post-revolutionary ideals of Dyrwood and regaining the respect of its citizens as a result. The destruction of the machine atop Ter Noaneth spelled the end of the reanimated corpses in Heritage Hill. Though at first few were willing to venture into the abandoned district, it was soon cleaned out and rebuilt. The district's horrors still fresh in people's minds. It would be some time before it was fully repopulated.
Cheap prime land.
But eventually the lure of cheap prime land would all but erase the memory. The Duke's assassination at the apparent hands of an Animancer had caused catastrophic rioting in the streets of Defiance Bay, and few Animancers survived the first day. Many Dyrwoodans took the end of Widewind's legacy as a sign, both that the gods did not approve of animancy, and that the purging of Animancers in Defiance Bay had been enough to satisfy them. In time, their rage would subside, and a number of surviving Animancers remained in and around Defiance Bay, often taking to the wilds to practice their science without repercussions. The fortress of Cadnua emerged as a bastion of security in the midst of an untamed land, becoming the envy of every Thane and Earl in Dyrwood. Legend grew over time of its impregnability, and stories of formidable invaders easily scattered by the keep's defenses became popular around the hearths of Dyrwoodinians. Likewise, it also became a beacon to travelers, merchants, and visiting dignitaries alike. Reputed as the finest fortress in all Dyrwood, people would journey from near and distant lands alike to experience its fabled hospitality and grandeur. Pallegina had gone against the Duke's Bell's orders by inventing a new trade arrangement with the Anamenfath to accommodate the recovering Dyrwood market. With the Dyrwood's people still weakened by Widewind's legacy, the Vailian republics easily pushed their would-be competitors out of the market. For her outrageous insubordination and audacity, Pallegina was banished from the republics. She traveled north in the Eastern Reach, avoiding Vailian ports and entering the ranks of the kind wayfarers. Despite her bravery and dedication to those in her care, her strange appearance made her feel like an outsider wherever she went. Adair chose not to return home to Gilded Vale. Still most comfortable far from cities, he settled in Dyrford, which, like many towns in the Dyrwood, was beginning the slow process of rebuilding. Believing now that it was the obligation of Kith to be the leaders their gods had not, Adair was soon named mayor of the town, and under his guidance, Dyrford soon began to prosper. He expelled the last of the Scanites from the area and drew new settlers with the offer of land, a trick he had learned from someone he otherwise preferred to forget. With each passing day, Dyrford would come to more closely resemble the Gilded Vale of Adair's childhood, the one worthy of its name. When the dust settled in Sun and Shadow, Aloth looked upon the remains of Theos Ixarchanon, his former master. He saw where the Grandmaster had gone wrong and what would be required to undo the harm Theos had wrought. With a flick of his wrist, he burned Theos's robe, headdress, and every other symbol of the man's power. Never again, he vowed, should Kith live in fear and blind obedience to an authority they did not understand. Armed with the knowledge and courage he had gained on his journeys with the Watcher, he set out on the long and lonely task of dismantling the Leaden Key. With the Watcher's goals accomplished and his own vows fulfilled, Kanorua sailed back toward Rawatai, thinking on the lessons his travels had provided him. By the time he landed at Tekoa, he understood what his path must be. Standing before the Lore College, Kanorua explained that the tablet he sought had been destroyed, and so a true interpretation of the Tonvi Oratoa could no longer exist. The people of Rawatai would have to create their own. He described the many strange things he had seen in his travels, and announced his intent to pursue the accumulation of knowledge abroad, seeking answers to new questions. True to his word, Kana soon set sail on yet another expedition, and in Tekoa, his passionate accounts inspired many to follow in his footsteps. With Theos defeated and the souls released from Sun and Shadow, healthy children were born once again in the Dyrwood. The grieving mother sought a place where she might do penance for the birthing bell. She returned to Deerford, where, to the astonishment of the villagers, she delivered the first healthy child in over a decade. She remained there, and with each new birth, she saw a measure of hope restored to the Dyrwood, and a measure of grace for her own troubled past. Durrance continued to blame Woodica for the atrocities of the Saints' War. Believing Magrin to have been a pawn in the machinations of the Queen that was, and feeling that Theos's expulsion had been a step towards reconciliation with his goddess, Durrance tried for a time to reopen communication with her. When only silence came, he took it as a condemnation of his continued existence. Ultimately, he built a pyre and threw himself upon it, using his own shattered staff as kindling. Sagani experienced the 4 months of her journey back to Masuk in vivid colors. She strove to memorize every moment of her final trip through the Dyrwood, Glonfoth, the Valian Republics, and beyond, preparing to tell her village of what she had seen on her long journey. All of Masuk shared in her triumph, and she felt her pride and elation magnified by the joy of her village. Never again did she doubt the value of her sacrifices. After decades as a long hunter, Sagani finally became one of Masuk's most respected elders. She guided her community with wise counsel, and a generation after she finally passed, another huntress journeyed into the world to find her soul. For you, the death of Theos brought an end to your waking visions, and a silence to the whispers of the past. In their absence, you were able to sleep. The questions of a distant lifetime ceased to trouble your soul. All that remained was what to make of the answer. But at the moment, there was little to be done, and the matter would have to wait. A long journey loomed ahead.
Okay. Oh my god. That's quite a story time. I love how something I'm just like, yeah, let's go kill him, whatever, I don't care. And then I ended up like slaughtering an entire village. I'm like, oops. Of course, the thing I would think the least about and put off to the end would end up being something that awful. Oh, goodness. I'm tired. I don't even know how I would, like, sum up a game this long in the span of credits. I mean, the writing was pretty decent. The voice acting was mixed. The dragons were amazing. Those dragons alone just made this game for me. I like the combat, I guess, style. I like the more turn-based kind of things, and I like that I can pause the game to think about what I want to do, even if ultimately I just throw shit at people. There's a lot more strategy I could have employed, for sure. There's gonna be like hundreds of people way better at this than me, who've like spent the time trying to figure out all the ways you can combine spells and like all the best equipment and stuff, and I'm just like, I kind of just want to play through the game. There's other stuff I want to get to, so it was quite funny that I'd like try to get somewhere and then I'd find another bunch of quests. Some pretty hilarious items you could get in the game too. I already mentioned that earlier. The graphics were okay, if not a little messed up sometimes. I would have liked a little more variety in music, like for battle music and whatnot, but and the fact that I kept breaking every now and then. Oh goodness. Yeah, the storytelling. Like, I get what they were going for at the end, but some of it seemed to be a little wrapped up in kind of like, I don't want to quite say pretentiousness, but like, some of the characters in this game came off as just like completely like hipster, pretentious douchebags, and I'm just like, you make zero sense. Did a shout out to Perhaps they're development babies. There's only 2 development babies. There's like 10. I liked some of the artwork. I liked all the classes. I liked a bunch of the balance and whatnot. But yeah, I'm trying to decide if like I'd probably go back to this game at some point and just play it for fun and try like some of the custom classes and see if I could finish some of the quests I didn't do. I might go back and try to kill that dragon just kind of as a bonus video because I really want to do it and see if I can. It's a tough fight, so it's just that one breath attack. If that one breath attack didn't exist, like that would probably be a decently challenging fight, not really impossible. Shauna beat it, so she's like, you got to do it, you quitter. So I'm like, fine. I wonder what would have happened if we gave the dragon a vessel. Didn't end up doing that. I'm sure there would have been something at the end about it. I like how the whole point of the game was like, you can give people the truth and let them know that the gods aren't real. And I'm just like, I gotta believe that shit anyways, so I don't know what your problem is. Yeah, so Pillars of Eternity. All finished. I'm guessing like 140 segments later. The White March. Okay, we're gonna get credits for like stuff that we haven't even done yet? Oh no, okay. Yeah, so there's DLC. Yeah, we're getting credits for stuff that we haven't done yet, so just whatever. I need to install the DLC if I'm gonna play it. I have no idea what that DLC would even include. Help make the DLC for our games better. As of October 2nd. Yeah, I think I'm probably going to take a break from Pillars of Eternity just so I can play some other stuff, but I might come back to do the DLC. What I've learned about me in DLC though is like I do intend to play it, but it's never usually as good as the original game. Usually. I want to say the one exception I've run into is Outlast. I think Whistleblower was actually better in some senses. In terms of like the horror factor, I think like Outlast as a full game was more complete in terms of story and everything, but if you're looking for like a good horror game and just want to be horrified, like the DLC for Outlast for sure. But yeah, so I'm a little hesitant to dive right into the DLC just because I need some variety and I just don't think I have the time to dedicate to it right now, especially since this took me literally over a year to complete. Granted, I didn't play it for like 5 months, so that doesn't help either. But yeah, would I recommend this game? Sure. If you like RPGs, you'll probably like those. If you like something like the, Neverwinter Nights, D&D type RPGs, this is probably your thing. It's just long. There's a lot to do. Which makes sense for an RPG. There's always tons of content and those things. Which is why I do like doing them as LPs. Like, I don't mind doing it a long LP. Like, I'll go at it for a long time, but that's kind of where I draw the line in terms of DLC too, so... Yeah. Overall, yeah, like, this isn't a game I'm gonna be, like, super addicted to, but it's definitely one that I enjoyed playing. So, would I put it in, like, the upper half of better games I've played? Probably. It was, pleasant to play, considering some of the shit I've been playing lately. And I played some bad RPGs, too, so... Yeah, this is definitely in the upper 50%, for sure. Yeah, but I hesitate to just, like, jump out and be like, yeah, you should totally play this game like Pyre or Horizon. Like, Pyre and Horizon I would recommend, like, in an instant to anybody. This game, I'd be like, you have to be in the right mindset, and you have to kind of like this type of game to actually enjoy. some of the writing got a little bit cumbersome in this. It was like playing a novel at times, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's just, yeah, they put a lot of content in, especially for their Kickstarters, so I just kind of gave up on reading all the fanfics, because I just couldn't handle the reading, and I didn't really care anymore about the second half of the game. Just like, this is cool that you're in this game, and you know, your stuff gets in here, and you get like a cool little story about your character, but just give me the regular story and we'll move on from there. I will admit, though, I do love how, like, some of the decisions you think are good end up being, like, totally bad for everything. I think that's hilarious and, you know, pretty good. Basically says that no matter what you do, like, things are gonna be fucked up. You can't be perfect, so that's why I like playing these games and not, like, typically reloading my decisions. I think I did that, like, maybe twice in this game. Like with the dragon, just because I couldn't beat the dragon, and then there was like another one where I'm like, I think I'm gonna do the other thing. I can't remember what it was though. It's been a long time. Yeah, I think I've exhausted everything I can say about this right now, especially since I kind of want to pass out. So, good night, and hope you enjoyed this very, very, very long LP.